Good day, ladies and gentlemen. Strap in, get ready, because the market is about to explode. In this video, I'm going to run through some technical analysis with Ethereum, talk about the greater market as a whole, talk about some off-chart fundamentals that you need to be aware of. So, if you like the sound of that, I want to ask you to do me a favor and do yourself a favor. Like, subscribe, comment, and share, and hit that bell icon to be notified of new uploads. Is Ethereum on the verge of absolutely exploding, reaching all-time highs and vastly surpassing it? Well, that may perhaps be the case if a few things happen here. So let's kind of begin by discussing what I believe is the most important resistance level currently that Ethereum needs to get above to see bullish continuation. That being kind of the 1860 range to about, I'd say, 1880. 1880 to 1860 has been constant resistance for Ethereum with this pumpage here. We can see one of our fib levels lines up pretty closely with 1860 as well. Based off this wick here, this candle body here, in these 2 wicks here, we can extend a support slash resistance line that was previously acting as support, but since we've broken down is now very clearly acting as resistance. So this red resistance line lines up perfectly with one of our fib levels. So I think 1860 to 1880 is the critical level that we need to get above to see bullish continuation. If we can get above and hold above 1860, 1880, I think we tackle all-time highs. Once we tackle all-time highs, folks, I think our next impulse takes us to, I'd say, 2180, and then after that, about 2400, I would wager. Now, it is very important to understand and follow Bitcoin because Bitcoin leads the market. Folks, Bitcoin, it will be testing. I mean, it is testing all-time highs. This is a giant deal, folks. Bitcoin leads the market. Now, something you need to understand if you're in cryptocurrency, different coins and different niches take turns pumping. There's almost like a different niches cycle through different cycles of when they pump. So Bitcoin typically leads the market. It'll pump first, and then Ethereum goes after, and then maybe some of the larger some of the larger altcoins like Chainlink, and then the lower caps will follow suit after. So there's an order to which things pump, and the fact that Bitcoin is testing its all-time highs here, and I think it's just a matter of time before it tests its all-time highs and surpasses it, folks. This is a leading indicator. Bitcoin is a leading indicator on the altcoin market, so be ready, folks. The previous cycle's all-time highs for Bitcoin was just under $20,000. Ethereum's all-time highs previously was about $1,400. So Bitcoin has done, nearly a 3x from its previous cycle's all-time highs. Ethereum is a couple percent, 20 to 30% away from its previous cycle's all-time highs. Ethereum is even still right now incredibly undervalued. Another reason why Ethereum is stupidly undervalued is, well, recently we've gotten Vitalik Buterin to comment on optimistic rollups. I've been really ringing the alarm bells and letting my people know about optimistic rollups and the massive implications behind this that's set to roll out sometime this month. It could take some time, but why is this important? Well, according to Vitalik Buterin, the Ethereum network is on the verge of scaling by a factor of 100. Optimism will release its Layer 2 solution in the coming weeks. This is a quote by him. Rollups are coming very soon, he said, adding, "We are fully confident that by the time that we need any more scaling of that, sharding will have already been ready for a long time by then." Jesus, that was a bit of a struggle, huh? The point being, there are many scaling solutions quickly coming to Ethereum in the next few months. We have optimistic rollups this month. We have the Berlin hard fork in April, mid-April, April 14th, April 15th. Why does that matter? Well, it will improve scaling, increase the transactions per second, which will make transactions on Ethereum quicker, but it will also improve some of the gas inefficiencies and the gas fees with Ethereum, one of the largest problems that's been plaguing the Ethereum network. This is a giant deal, folks. We have optimistic rollups set to launch this month. That is a giant deal. The transactions per second will be increased from the current around tens to the thousands, 1 to 4,000, according to Vitalik. This is a giant deal. We also have EIP 1559 set to launch in July, folks. That is massive because EIP 1559 will introduce a burning mechanism into Ethereum, thus making Ethereum deflationary and the supply decreasing over time. Folks, do not sleep on Ethereum. Look, I like and own there's different smart contract, interoperable, scalable ecosystems such as Cardano, Polkadot, Elrond. There's tons of good projects out there. I'm not a blockchain maximalist. I think all these projects can exist together and complement each other. It's not winner takes all in my opinion. With that being said, don't let anyone fool you. Don't kid yourself. Ethereum is so incredibly well positioned to be the winner and the king of the smart contract, interoperable, scalable space in the end. It has the vast majority of users, the vast majority of developers, first mover advantage, the network effect, and we have all these massive improvements coming in the next few months, and a burning mechanism will be introduced in July. Oof. Folks, Ethereum has a massive advantage over all its competitors, and one of its biggest issues ever, which is the gas fees, will begin to be addressed this month and next month. Folks, Ethereum, get this through your heads. Ethereum is stupidly undervalued. Ethereum at $2,000 is stupidly undervalued. That is just my opinion. I know, other people might disagree and other people have other opinions. That's just my opinion. Opinions can be wrong, right? Take everything I say with a grain of salt. I could be wrong. So, folks, let's try and look here at our indicators to try and get a sense of what's going on with Ethereum here in the short term here. So let's begin by looking at the daily to see if anything interesting pops up, because we're going to take a look at some different charts to try and get a sense of what Ethereum will do next. But let's begin by looking at the daily. So the daily for Ethereum does look bullish. Everything is on the up and up. Bullish cross from the daily MACD, very good to see. Weighted MACD on the way up. Weighted MACD acts as a leading indicator on the regular MACD. Stochastic RSI on the way up, although concerningly curving down. Seems like we may have a bearish crossover. And again, looking at this RSI is going to be very, very key for understanding when Ethereum truly explodes, reaches $2,000 and enters price discovery. I think, honestly, folks, there's so many fancy technical analysis ways that you can chart things, but I think this simple resistance line in the RSI will be one of the most telling things for understanding when Ethereum truly explodes. If and when we can get above this red resistance line here on the daily RSI, I think that is when Ethereum truly explodes. Folks, keep an eye on this daily RSI and that red resistance line for Ethereum. I think that's going to play a large role in understanding when Ethereum sees bullish continuation. So now, but the 12-hour, see, we're starting to see some concerning stuff here, folks. We're concerningly overbought, weighted MACD curving down, histogram curving down. Things are starting to look weak here. All these indicators look bearish. We're overextended. May have a further pullback here. Looking at the 6-hour, continued weakness, except the stochastic. So the stochastic is the only saving grace here. Even the RSI was overbought, making lower highs, lower lows. Things still look bearish. So let's take a look at the 3. 3 starting to show a bit of strength here, and let's take a look at the 1. 1 hour. You could say this is an uptrend, but with the stochastic being overbought like that bearish crossover, and the RSI making an uptrend, but in the neutral territory, this is not very convincing. I'm not very convinced of the direction. Let's take a look at the half before we finish up with the short term here. Yeah, so let's take, what's the weighted MACD saying? Bullish crossover. Yeah, so this is kind of in an uptrend. I'm not getting a strong confluence of reasons, so I'm not very confident about short-term direction. But to kind of just summarize here, daily looks strong, but once we get to some of the hourlies here, we're starting to see some weakness. So to understand whether we have a pullback on Ethereum or not, I think maintaining above and seeing how I react off 1860 is going to be that key factor to understand how we react in the short term, but also maintaining above 1830 to, I'd say, 1800 is the key thing that we need to do in order to remain short-term bullish. If we start to fall below this level, I think it's just a matter of time before we retest this green line here. This green line based off these 2 wicks here, we just kind of extend a green support line. So I think retesting this kind of makes some degree of sense, having some kind of pullback. If this range here cannot hold 1800 to 1830, if that can't hold, I think some kind of leg down, perhaps a retest, low 1700 range makes some sense in my opinion as well. Folks, it is very, very helpful to look at the Ethereum Bitcoin pairing. I've been trying to ring the alarm bells on this, folks. I think that it's beautiful how well we've been reacting off our support and resistance ranges. So as we can see here, we've been reacting exactly off the ranges I've drawn from days and weeks ago. So we found rejection exactly where predicted, but we're also finding support exactly where predicted. I think the key thing to look out for on the Ethereum Bitcoin pairing, because it's important, because it's gonna, I believe the Ethereum Bitcoin pairing can sometimes show hidden bullish and bearish divergence, hidden support and resistance, and it can sometimes act as a leading indicator on the US dollar value of Ethereum. Because if we can continue to hold this as support and solidify this range as support and solidify the 200 EMA on the daily as support, because we can see here it was acting as resistance. As soon as we broke up, it's now going to act as support. So if we can solidify this, we're testing this to see if we can solidify this as support. If we can hold this as support, we go for that next leg up and break above this region and make an all-time high past this region, I think that is your cue that Ethereum will see bullish continuation. So it's going to be a very important chart to understand when we're going to see that next big move with Ethereum. If we start to break below this support level, then I think Ethereum, that's another factor that really points towards Ethereum probably very likely having some kind of pullback here. But if we can hold this as support, solidify, retest these regions, and surpass this region here, make a higher high past these candles, that is when I think Ethereum really sees its next major impulse up. And again, it's always important to follow Bitcoin. Another thing too, if Bitcoin is in price discovery and just pumping and exploding, that could place a temporary dampers on the altcoin market, folks. You know, remember this, these different niches take turns pumping. They don't all pump at the exact same time. One very good chart that I keep hyping, keep bringing up to understand what the altcoin market could do is the Bitcoin dominance chart. The Bitcoin dominance chart is essentially a gauge, a temperature check of what the altcoin market has within it. For those who don't know, Bitcoin dominance is the total value of Bitcoin in comparison to the total value of all cryptocurrency. Whenever it rises, altcoins typically suffer. Whenever it falls, altcoins typically benefit. So with Bitcoin, testing its all-time highs, potentially entering price discovery in the near future here, we're probably going to see a continued rally with Bitcoin dominance, especially if we enter price discovery, folks. So let's say we enter price discovery and we start to rally with Bitcoin dominance. Well, perhaps we can anticipate some kind of rejection off these levels, the 66th percentile, the 67th percentile, 68th percentile. If and when we see that rejection and the leg up with Bitcoin dominance end and the leg down begin, when that leg down begins with Bitcoin dominance, that is your cue that is then the altcoin's turn to start pumping. So very, very important chart to try and gauge what the altcoin market has within it. And I think the most important support level that we need to understand with Bitcoin dominance is, I'd say, 60.5 to 57.5. Once we enter this range, and especially once we fall below it, that is when we truly see altcoins start to take off on the scale of August 2.0. Like for those who weren't around back in August, absolutely everything in crypto pumped. There was a massive DeFi rally where everything pumped. And so I think we might experience something very similar even when we see Bitcoin enter these regions here, but really leave this region. So in terms of a long-term price predictions for Ethereum, ultimately, nobody knows for sure. They're just kind of guesstimates for fun because nobody knows for sure. I like to say my conservative guesstimate is 10,000. My kind of more moderate, realistic guesstimate is 20,000 US dollars per Ethereum this cycle. And my little bit more optimistic guesstimate is $30,000 per Ethereum this cycle. Now, I believe it is very hard and very difficult and maybe impossible to kind of guess with any kind of accuracy how high these coins are going to go over the long term. But I do think it's much more easy to understand when this market is likely to reach some kind of peak. Now, there's arguments that we're going to enter some kind of super cycle, and that with the institutions being in, the cycles are no longer relevant. But I personally do think that the cycles are going to play some kind of role moving forward, and I will be selling out of this market. Right now, I'm not. Right now, the only thing I'm doing is buying when things fall, and I'm going to continue doing so for the next few months. But at some point, I do believe this market will reach some kind of peak. I do think Bitcoin has a very good chance of reaching its peak September, October this year, and Ethereum and the altcoins are likely to reach their peak roughly a month after Bitcoin. Because if we look at the previous cycle, actually, let's do it. Let's zoom out here and look at when Ethereum reached its peak back in 2017, 2018. So when did Ethereum reach its peak? Let's see here. It was 12th of January, so kind of mid-January, right? Now, let's take a look at Bitcoin and zoom out here and see when Bitcoin reached its peak last cycle, kind of mid-December, different charts, say different dates. So roughly a month apart. So I think something similar has a good chance of happening this time around, where Bitcoin's going to reach its peak, then roughly a month after, I think Ethereum and the altcoins have a good chance of reaching their peak afterwards. So come September, October, November, that is when I'll be scaling out of my long-term positions with Ethereum, regardless of price. So whether Ethereum's at 5,000, 10,000, 20,000, 30,000, or 50,000, come September, October, November, that's when I'll start to slowly scale out of my positions, slowly over time, day to day, week to week, whatever it may be. I'll start selling, certain percentages every day, every week, every other week, that kind of thing, and be fully out by probably the end of November. And my plan is to move into stable coins for about a year until it's time to buy back into the market. Because if we look at the previous cycle, and I don't have the previous, even the cycle before this pulled up back in 2015, 2014, but from the top of the market to the bottom was about a year. So my plan is September, October, November to move into stable coins and stake them and earn passive income for about a year, and wait a year, and after a year buy back into the market, and then just wait for years, and then just wait for the bull run, the top of the next bull run, if the cycles are to continue in a similar fashion as they have historically, is likely to be summer 2025. So my plan is to sell everything, September, October this year, wait a year, stake stable coins, earn passive income, buy back into the bottom of the market 1 year after, September, October, November, and then just hodl until summer 2025 and probably retire and, buy myself a beach house or something, who knows. But yeah, folks, that's kind of like that's the retirement plan, folks. And, I hope you give some consideration to some of the things I've mentioned, because I do think crypto does move in cycles. And if you want to know why I think crypto moves in cycles, join our Discord in our resources section. I posted a chart by Trading Chart who breaks down the Bitcoin cycles very well. So Bitcoin moves in these 4-year cycles because of the halvings. Every 4 some odd years, the amount of Bitcoin being produced gets cut in half. That's the thing that leads to these boom and bust cycles. And that's also the reason why Bitcoin is almost guaranteed to rise in price over time, because every 4 some odd years, the amount of Bitcoin being produced gets cut in half. So the miners have to almost sell Bitcoin at a higher price in order to remain profitable. So that's one factor as to why Bitcoin has a very good chance of increasing in value over time. Not to mention its incredibly low supply, and another thing to mention as well, folks. So the total supply with Bitcoin is 21 million. But the real supply is not 21 million. The real supply, the real max supply, is probably closer to 15, 18 million in the mid-teens, because there are people from way back in the day, back from 2010, 12, 13, 14, who had a bunch of Bitcoin who've lost it. There's a bunch of Bitcoin locked up in wallets that will never be moved. And even Satoshi Nakamoto, nobody knows who Satoshi Nakamoto is. For those who don't know, Satoshi Nakamoto is the person or the group of individuals who created Bitcoin. And there's rumors that that person is dead, and that he had a bunch of Bitcoin. The person had a bunch of Bitcoin, and so that Bitcoin will never be moved. And there's tons and tons of examples of lots of Bitcoin being locked up in wallets that will never be moved. So the real circulating supply for Bitcoin is probably much, much lower than 21 million. So Bitcoin has a very low supply, and the amount of supply being produced is constantly being cut. That's why Bitcoin increases in value over time. And now with Ethereum introducing a burning mechanism back in July, folks, oof, it is a good day to be an Ethereum fanboy, and it's going to be a good year and probably a good decade, to be honest. Now, if anything interesting further happens with Ethereum, we will definitely be talking about it on this channel. So folks, do not forget to like, subscribe, comment, share, hit that bell icon to be notified of new uploads. If you like what we do and you want to support us, join our Patreon and become a VIP Discord member. In our VIP Discord, we talk about low cap gems, interesting setups. We talk to our members all the time, and we have some extremely helpful resources for understanding Ethereum, Polkadot, and Cardano. We're currently trying to learn, me and Messi, we both run this channel. We're both trying to learn Solidity and become blockchain developers, and we're trying to learn blockchain coding, because look, folks, we're already pretty, if I can speak for myself, I'd say I'm a fairly competent technical analyst. But if we can also become competent blockchain developers and coders, folks, we want to be so well positioned to understand this market better than anyone else, understand what coins are truly well positioned, what projects are truly well positioned to succeed and grow over time, and understand their flaws, and understand their implementation, how they can improve in gaps in this industry. Folks, stay tuned with this channel. You haven't seen anything yet. This is just phase 1 of the channel. This channel is going to grow and vastly improve over time, so make sure you stay tuned with us, folks. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time, take care.